Hi, come in. Don't mind the mess. We've got a D&D story to roast. So let's put it on a big screen and I'll tell you all about it. Our guy has some friends that he decided to DM for, and things didn't go quite to plan. Let's see if he could have done any better. I just DM'd my first game. It was the worst game I've ever been a part of. A bunch of my friends had recently watched certain streamers, certain companies' show, a cartoon, and decided they wanted to try to play D&D. Great, so we immediately have our expectations set high, as you're supposed to be as good as a written production, and you're certain you can meet it. Being the only person among them who played before, I offered to DM for them. Spent a few weeks world building, making maps, making sure everyone has dice, etc. Great. First thing right off the bat, you decided to put yourself through a month of work for people who have romanticized and idealized view of D&D, and you don't know if they'll even like playing the actual game. And you went out to world build instead of reaching for what's already there. A published module, not even officially created by Wizards of the Coast. Anyone really. A starting adventure, with the world, the monsters, and the lore behind it. You don't know what they want, and neither do they. But immediately, you decided Faerun is not for them. Though all this is important and necessary, you need some sort of a story, some sort of a world to put them in and have them play in. But going for things like making sure everyone had dice, etc. What did you go and do for a month? Did you go shopping for dice? If you have one set, you all can share it. If you have two sets, you can have a set for yourself as a game master and let them share the other. People aren't required to roll all their tests all at once. And if you really need that extra d20 for your advantage, you can either tell them, remember the first number and then roll again, or just give them your DM dice and then ask for it back. Again, if your worry was that everyone is supposed to have the dice, you upfront spent money on something they might not even like. Let's continue. The day before the campaign starts, we meet for session 0 to build their characters and for me to explain the basics of the game to them. Oh, fantastic. So again, you secluded yourself for a few weeks to world build, and you told them nothing about the game. You didn't tell them to watch someone actually play the game so they know how it looks like. You didn't tell them to read the free rules available to everyone to have an idea how to play the game. You didn't tell them to watch some tutorial videos summarizing the basics. And they could have done something during those few weeks, but you decided not to burden them with such trivial details. Apparently you, a day before the game, can summarize all the rules in about 2 hours. We'll come back to that too. Let's continue. No one wanted to build their own character. It was too weird and complicated, so everyone just asked me to build a character for them. Sure, fine, whatever. Right, so that's something I just mentioned. The rules were apparently too complicated for them to grasp to create a character, and they didn't do it in a month. But you were sure you're gonna summarize it a day before, and you just did it yourself. Let's continue. I build everyone's characters, write a little bit of backstory for each one, turn their character sheets over to them and tell them to familiarize themselves with their characters before we start the campaign. Great, another issue. If you're making the characters for them, they don't know what they're playing, and they're gonna have to familiarize themselves with the characters. They don't know the rules, they don't know what options the characters have, and they don't know where any of the numbers came from. That's why you should force your new players, or any players, to make their characters themselves, so that they see the process, read the rules, read their options, and actually make the connections how to play their own character during the session. On top of that, again, you could have picked a published module where there already are a ready-made character and asked them who wants to be this, who wants to be this. In addition, again, during those few weeks where you were preparing, you didn't tell them to read the free rules and look at the limited options of class and subclasses for the PCs they can choose from, so at least they've got an idea what they wanna be. You didn't ask them what they wanna be when you were creating the characters for them, so there won't be an issue later, which we'll get to. And seemingly you didn't ask for any input, not even relying on the show they just saw, telling you, oh, I wanna be like this character, or I wanna be like this one, or something in between, to give you a clue. Also, you're writing backstories for them, for people who don't know if they wanna really play the game. Really, from a backstory you need just 2 things. Why aren't you at home cooking dinner for yourself right now? And what are you gonna do to people you meet? I'm not a fan of players writing their backstories as a novel, outlining the great adventures they've already had that will never meet the dramatic level during the game. You're here to have the adventure, not already having had them. Let's continue. At this point my expectations are nearly rock bottom. I know this is going to be a train wreck. Well, you asked for it. Campaign starts. I make it 2 sentences into the campaign, great style, and the players are already fighting with each other because they were just now reading their character sheets for the first time and were arguing about who had the coolest character. Well, that's not good, is it? They're fighting with each other and interrupting the game master? That sounds like a loaded language. We'll come back to that. And also you could have avoided this situation by asking them what they would like to play. So everyone who plays their character plays something they think is cool. Let's continue. This goes on for a very long time. Every 2 sentences I'm interrupted by the players fighting over their character's name, the color dice they have, who has better chair. Yeah, again, you could have avoided that by having 1 set of dice or a set of dice for yourself and all of them at once. And if they asked, why do you have the cooler color dice? You could have said, because I'm the game master and I need my better tools to run the adventure for you. Let's continue. I figure, these assholes aren't even listening to the story anyway, so we'll just go sandbox. Congratulations, you spent a few weeks world building, and now you threw that all out the window for them to just roam around and kick grass or stones down a hill. Work smarter, not harder. I quickly introduce a villain. In case they do want to continue the campaign, then just dump them in a tavern. Well, at best you at least planned ahead if they like it, but what if they don't? Still, this work could go for somebody else's game, who will quote appreciate it unquote, but again, working smarter, not harder, could have at least narrowed it down to this adventure, not a campaign. You people seem to be throwing these terms like they mean nothing. Let's continue. They spent 60 minutes in real time in the tavern because all the players are just fighting with each other. Loaded language again. We'll come back to that. They are offered like 5 quests while in the tavern and they turn them all down. A thing I know about game mastering is that you don't just give people 5 side quests for them to choose from, because they'll start choosing and you put work in all of them. The heroes are already there for a reason. There's already a rumor about a possibility of an adventure. There's already a quest, just do that. Your side quest should be doing something as they're going there or coming back already, alongside the main story, I'd say. But anyway, let's keep going. Finally, I railroad them into a quest, which they only accept because it has their characters visiting another bar. They argue, oh no, there's more fighting again? Strong language, we'll come back to that, for another 30 minutes, about if they even want to do the quest. Then they argue for an hour about how to best do the quest. Ah yes, the players didn't put any time into preparing for the game altogether, so now that they're in the game and actually trying to prepare for the adventure, we want to cut that. We don't want players or player characters to look competent, we don't want them to plan, now do we? We especially want to avoid it if they enjoy the process. Finally, 2 hours after the session started, they get to kill some rats. It takes over an hour for them to kill a handful of rats because they are constantly bickering. Oh dude, quarrels left and right. We'll come back to that. Wanting them to have fun, interesting, we'll come back to that. I offer some loot. I describe a few low-level magic items and gold that they can loot, but they decide they don't want it and leave it where they found it. Yeah, role-playing, right? We don't want to give actual choice, we just want to give an illusion of choice. You don't get to decline the reward. After all, you're sure to play the whole campaign, you're gonna need the upgrades, right? We'll go back to that too. They go back to the bar, turn down 2 more quests. I railroad them into another and give them a motive to visit the next town. Instead of going to the next town, they go back to their original bar and keep arguing with each other. Damn, another argument. I end the session out of pure frustration. Now, pretty much the best part, they all called me the next day. They all called me the next day and told me they had an awesome time and they want to play again. I turned them all down. I've never been so frustrated in my entire life. 4 hours of constant name calling and bickering. I don't even understand how they had fun. Really, just had to get this off my chest, lol. Fantastic. So here is the deal. The story starts with a bunch of my friends had recently watched the show. You all are already friends. It was an opportunity for all of you to meet and have fun. And apparently they did. And they do want to quote play unquote again. Meaning your hard work, unnecessary and extensive hard work, may not go to waste. A great opportunity to satisfy your sunk cost fallacy. Next, since they all called you the next day and said they had an amazing time, all that bickering and quarreling Seems like it must have been misinterpreted by you. They had an outlet to talk shit, and you could argue the targets weren't the other people, it were the characters, because they themselves were in character. You can find Game Master saying one of their best sessions were when the players made their own fun, where they didn't have to do anything. And you are in fact the Game Master. You've got your DM screen, you've got your laptop to track digital information and whatnot. When they're bickering for an hour or two over whatever they want, you can put your laptop on and watch some funny videos on the internet. They're already having fun and now you can as well. So yeah, that's the whole loaded language. They apparently weren't quarreling, weren't bickering, and weren't name-calling each other for real to hurt each other's feelings. Now, you could argue everyone had expectations about the game and their own idea of fun, including the Game Master. But to your discredit, you made the game for them, and apparently by the audience, you succeeded. So yeah, that's the story. You put too much work into it, you demanded nothing in return, it turns out your expectations were too high, and you misinterpreted the behavior of your friends. You don't deserve any pity.